Welcome to Make Shit Happen. This is episode number 154, the last episode for the first half of 2021. For this episode, I want to go ahead and play some clips from my previous episodes, just a highlight reel, take back to memory lane since we have gone one half of 2021 already. This is a special episode. I hope you listen to it and I hope you enjoy. Thank you for listening. And once again, thank you for supporting Make Shit Happen. Now let's listen to this highlight reel of Make Shit Happen podcast. Let me ask you, hip hop culture, we talked about it. And then you said something I forgot to ask you. And you said, hey, if my kids or my grandkids inherit something, I don't want them to go run and go buy jewelry and watches or
things
whatever.
Things they don't appreciate.
Things they don't appreciate, right? What is your, that's the culture. That has become a culture, not only hip hop culture, but a society we live in. Okay.
Right.
The country we live in. What is your feeling about that?
Well, if you can't buy it 3 times, you shouldn't buy it.
If you can't buy it 3 times,
you can't buy it 3 times, you shouldn't buy it.
So let's just put it this way. If I want to go buy a $15,000 watch, and that's all I got, $15,000, I shouldn't buy it.
Yeah, if you can't buy 3 of those watches and still live comfortably, you don't need one.
So that means that if I can't buy 3 watches and don't have money for my rent, my food, and my 6 months worth of BS.
Or if you're basically buying the watch with all the money that took you a while to save up that amount of money to buy a watch. And for $15,000, you're not going to get a watch that necessarily appreciates, right? You have to get into a higher level of watch buying, totally different brands, totally different like Tourbillon, and just it's a whole other world if you're trying to make a watch investment. But $15,000 Rolex watch is not gonna appreciate over time.
Yeah. So don't
unless it's kept for like 30 years and then it becomes.
But if you want to buy anything, and I just said a watch, it can be anything. But if you can't buy 3 of them, don't buy them.
I wouldn't buy it.
That's it. That's a good lesson. Now, how do we teach that lesson to the future generation
By example.
Or the kids and stuff like that?
By example.
Okay.
Basically, you let them know. Like I have a Dodge Ram truck.
Okay.
Right? I could probably go and get a Rolls Royce truck if I wanted to. But then that would be a higher level of financial obligation that would take away resources potentially from other things in my life.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, it's not about a comfortable car. It's about a comfortable life. So the first primary purchase you should be investing in is where you're going to live, right? Then you decide what you're going to drive. And all of that stuff should be manageable to a point where you don't have to go above and beyond what's necessary to acquire these things. So if it's going to take a lot of stretching and it's going to eat up a lot of your savings for you to buy that particular car, you don't need that car yet, right? Because the purpose of a car doesn't change based on how much money you spend on a car, right? The basic purpose of a car is to get you from one place to another and back, right? And so you don't need to spend $500,000 on a car to do that. If you are going to spend $500,000 on a car to do that, you are probably worth $40-50 million, right? Like I know guys that own those cars, they're a lot more liquid than you would think they are for them to decide that that's what they're going to do.
Today, this morning, I run a lot, so I was running and I was listening to Howard Partridge, who I've interviewed in episode 78, and he said, when you're an entrepreneur, it's not just you. Yeah, you can be good at fixing ACs, but you got to do a lot of other things.
Yep.
And entrepreneurship is much more broader, right?
Yep.
So I'm so glad you said you were not happy, you were trapped. And then the second thing, so I listened to Gary. I like Gary
Vee. I love him.
And Gary Vee says,
I love him.
Don't listen to what your parents say.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
And I mean, that's one thing that you did. And that's one thing I did.
Yep.
I had blown out fights with my dad.
Yep.
When I told him I'm going to open my own business. And, it's just the immigrant mindset, right?
That is.
It's the immigrant mindset.
And then you become a firefighter. Gary Vee said the same thing. You become a firefighter. You got to deal with everything, man. I wake up in the morning. I'm 29 years old, and I have to deal with people that are 55 to 65, and they look at me like I'm a kid. Then, they look at me like, you're the owner? Like, are you the CEO of this company? Like, you guys write books? I'm like, yes, I am. And that's one of the things that I have to face all the time. It's like, well, I got to deal with that. I got to deal with the people thinking that I'm a kid. and then I have to deal with something happened in Mexico with the writers, and then something happened in Salvador with the
Oh man,
writers.
it's fire every day. You're a
And
firefighter.
The website is not working, and you get all these emails, and then you get complaints, and then you got to deal with that. And then this guy decides to not show up in the work today, and it's like you got to deal with everything, man. But at the same time, I love it. Like I don't see myself doing anything else but that.
And like I said, entrepreneurship is not for everybody, but for somebody who does it, who likes it, who loves it, then they breathe it, they live it, because you are doing way much more. You're a firefighter. You're putting out fires early in the morning to sometime at night. I mean, in my situation, I mean, somebody ran into